I'll be 65 this year. I've saved diligently and built up a $1 million 401k. I'm expecting a $500,000 inheritance. I spend up to $6,000 a month. So here's the big question. Can I retire January 1st, 2026? In today's episode, we'll walk through this real-world retirement scenario using math, not emotion, and without making any guarantees or recommendations. We'll explore how when you retire matters, how long-term care and medical costs can impact your retirement, how asset allocation, Social Security, tax, and retirement spending strategies can make such a massive difference in your retirement experience. This is not financial advice, it's education. Because money is not math, and there's so much more that goes into planning around your money and your retirement than just math. And there's every situation is different, right? So take this for education around things to consider. Do not take this as advice directly pointed at you because this is a hypothetical situation that hopefully brings you value. If this sounds like your situation, or if you're wondering whether your retirement plan is truly ready, reach out. I help people like you every day turn uncertainty into clarity and hopefully have more confidence in their retirement plan and their retirement future. So let's talk. All right, let's jump right into this. Like I said, so this is Money Not Math, episode 163, titled Can I Retire on Day One of 2026? And I will share my screen and walk you through the planning software that we use. The software is not a product, it's just simply a tool that we use to help our clients build out their situation or their financial situations. So there's an adorable picture of my daughter. I didn't mean for that to be the background, but that's okay. Now I got to move stuff around. All right, here we go. Of course, I got to move the Zoom. All right, we're good to go. So here's what that situation looks like. All right. And this is with $1 million in their 401k, all tax deferred, not Roth, just 401k. So they didn't pay taxes on the way in, so they're going to have to pay taxes on the way out. It's assuming a single person because there was, just something to consider. And what this is with a $500,000 inheritance at some point in the future. All right. So what this is saying is that this person has a 62% chance of probability of success at age 95 with a projection of about $380,000 left over. Okay. Now, this isn't saying probability of success like surviving, it's saying having money left over when they pass away at 95. Okay. So the success rate is how likely are you to not run out of money while you're still alive. Okay. We don't really want that number to be 100% because that means we're probably not living the lifestyle that we could in retirement. We're probably under living and going to save more than we need to and pass away with more than necessary. But we also don't want that to be below like 70% because that's a higher chance of overspending and running out of money while we run out of breath. Okay, so oftentimes we're aiming for about 80% probability with the understanding that we can make adjustments along the way. So if someone's probability gets up to like 90%, we may encourage them to spend more or plan differently or, purchase some long-term care insurance or things like that. Take some considerations to account. But if it gets below 70%, we might have to look at ways to tighten the belt or become more efficient with their money. All right, so those are just some parameters. Keep in mind just estimations, just projections. This is not any guaranteed plan for any one person, but it hopefully will provide value and things to consider when it comes to your retirement plan. All right, so first and foremost, we're going to go through some different scenarios of things that can have a massive impact on your plan. The first one's obvious. What if we wait longer to retire? All right, so this is age 66, January 1st, 2026. What if they just waited one more year? Right? That's one more year to accumulate, let their retirement assets grow, and it's one less year to live off those assets in retirement. Right? So that makes a 7% difference in this person's plan by waiting one year. So sometimes it does make sense to wait, but also sometimes we meet with people who think they have to wait till they're 67 to retire, and they could retire today. They could have retired 2 years ago. They just didn't know because they didn't have a plan. It's crazy to think that 3 out of 4 people that enter retirement don't really have a plan. They have stuff, but not really a plan. And I strongly encourage you to have a plan because oftentimes it's a lot more effective. I would say probably every time, but I'm sure there's some instance where it's not. So let's bring this back to 66. Now, on the other side, this is using the national average $6,397 per year of medical costs. Well, that's a national average, right? That's anyone between 62 and 95 or older. What's the average amount they're spending? Someone who's just entering retirement probably isn't quite hitting the national average, but it can depend on your medical history. So what if this person's only spending $1,000 a year on medical expenses? That makes a dramatic difference, right? Now they're projected to have about $380,000 at age 95 or when they pass away, in this hypothetical example. If they only spend $1,000 a year when they enter retirement, that's 1.1 million or 62% to 80%. Massive difference, right? So how much you're actually spending on your medical costs makes a big impact. Now, bringing that back, we'll bring it back to just the national average again, just to keep things consistent. It's also assuming that you're going to have about 2 years of long-term care duration at some point. In this example, it's using the last 2 years of your retirement. So it's saying at age 94 or 95, you spend long-term care before you pass away. And it's also using the national average of cost of long-term care today, which is $75,504 a year. Did you know the average long-term care cost is $75,504 per year today? Imagine what it's going to be in 25 years or 30 years. So for this person, they are 66 when they retire, and then they hit long-term care at 93 or 94 or 95, it's going to be way more than 75,000. All right. So what if this is assuming 2 years? What if they have 4 years of long-term care? Again, there's no way to know, but how you plan around long-term care makes a big impact. What if they plan around 4 years of long-term care? Now their probability of success drops from 62% to 43, and their likelihood of assets goes from 380,000 to zero. What if on the flip side, you're like, you know what? I've got a long family history of really healthy people that don't usually use long-term care, or I don't have any assets that I'm that worried about protecting, or there's no one dependent on me, or I just want to plan optimistically, whatever it may be. What if we just don't plan around long-term care? What does that do to your assets or your projections? Now that brings your probability from 62% to 80%, right? So that's a big difference when it comes to how we plan around long-term care. It has a big impact on how we plan around everything else too. All right, so we'll reset that. Now the other one, right? So I'm assuming age 95. We have no idea how long we're going to live, right? Most of us, if not all of us, don't get a ticket stamped when we retire telling us how long we're going to live and how long we need our assets to last. So how long we project or expect or plan to live has a big impact. What if we're like, you know what? Oh, this is true. My grandpa's 96. I'd better plan to live at least until 100 with medical advancements, family history, and things like that. Well, that's going to make an impact on your plan. It's going to drop your probability of success from 62% to 43. Your projected assets from 380,000 to zero. That's a pretty big difference, right? What if on the flip side, you're like, you know what? I just want to live to the fullest the first years of my retirement while I'm healthy. I got a long family history of passing away in my mid 70s. I'll be just pumped if I can make it to age 80. Anything after that, oh well. That's going to make a big impact. Now we go from 62% to 100 and 380,000 projected assets to 1.4, almost 1.4 million. Again, how we plan and how you plan matters. Let's bring that back. Return on monthly expenses, we're at 6,000. I'll leave that because that was the hypothetical question. Hypothetical inheritance, 500,000. I'm going to leave that. I don't want to mess with those. I just want to make sure you saw them. Asset allocation. This is a huge one. So often people go their entire careers with their money invested in target date funds. So they're just automatically adjusted for you with no real strategy outside of just your age and projected retirement age and your projected death age. And there's not really any specific, I guess, plan, I would call it. So that can make a massive impact. And here's why. What if you enter retirement and you go, I just don't want to deal with market volatility. I'm terrified of the market. The news scares me. Every day the news is telling me to buy gold and run from the market. So let's put it in a preservation portfolio. What's that do to your portfolio? It significantly impacts it, right? If you go from 62% to 7, a 7% chance of success if you use a preservation portfolio, a projected 380,000 to zero. Now, why is that? Simply put, even though the news and pretty much every financial pundit out there wants to terrify you into thinking that market volatility up and down, up and down, up and down that happens every single day is your greatest risk in retirement, In reality, if you live a long, healthy life, inflation is your greatest risk to your retirement because every single day everything gets becomes more expensive. Every single year everything becomes more expensive because of inflation. If we just simply have a 3% inflation rate, every 21 years everything's twice as expensive. You live in retirement for 25 years or more, 20 plus years, everything will be twice as expensive. So even just to maintain your lifestyle, we actually have to increase your assets. Okay? We have to actually increase your income to maintain your lifestyle. So what your income is day one of retirement can't be your income 10 years later if you want to maintain or improve your lifestyle. Okay? So it's really important that you understand the importance of not only preservation of your wealth, but also the growth of it to maintain your lifestyle. Plus, if you have legacy goals, do you really want to just white knuckle your money your entire retirement, hope you don't live too long, and hope there's something left to leave behind? Probably not. But are you being educated on what your options are and what the outcome of those options could be? On the flip side, what if you're like, I don't care about market volatility. Let's put all of my assets in the most aggressive portfolio possible and just put our heads in the sand and ignore the news. What's that going to do? Your probability of success skyrockets from 62% to 75. Your projected assets go from 380,000 to 1 point almost 5 million. That's a huge difference. Why is that? Because now your assets over a long period of time are more than likely outpacing inflation rather than losing to it. However, the reason why pretty much no one that I know, has retirement assets completely in the market or the stock market or equities is because sometimes the market goes down. On average, once every 4 years, it's negative. And sometimes we need access to our money, and oftentimes emotionally, it's really hard to wake up wondering what the entirety of your portfolio is doing. So it's really important to have a plan around your asset allocation. All right, so I'll put that back. It's just using current, which is their current allocation, just so you know, is about a 60/40, which is a pretty standard thing that you hear. I'm not saying I recommend it. Few of my clients use it, but it is kind of the standard or rule of thumb. Other ones, Social Security, I won't go in depth on this. I can in other videos or with you specifically. But if we use an optimal Social Security strategy, rather than retiring and claiming Social Security right away, waiting till age 70, what does that do? In this case, not everyone's optimal strategy is age 70, but for this person, it is. I did some background work. That is going to increase their probability of success from 62 to 66%. All right. Now let's put that back. What about tax strategy? If you don't have massive medical expenses in retirement, and if a majority, if not all of your assets are in a 401k or an IRA or some sort of tax deferred account, it's quite possible, if not probable, your taxes in retirement could be the largest bill you ever pay. So what if we actually have a tax strategy for your assets? And again, this one I put together a proposed strategy. What does that do to your retirement? From 62% to 65%, from 380,000 to 542,000. That's a pretty big impact, right? That's a $160,000 value by just adjusting your strategy. There's no more money in, no more money out, just how and when you spend your money and where you put it makes an impact. And then retirement spending, a very common strategy is the 4% rule. They call it the 4% golden rule. You hear about it often, I'm sure. And that's basically saying if you have $100,000 and you pull 4% a year, you get $4,000 of income and then adjust for inflation as you go, because as we talked about, it's a big part. There's plenty of other strategies. There's retirement spending smile, retirement spending stages, floor and ceiling, guardrails, others that probably aren't included in this software. But the point is, how you spend your money and how do you strategize around your money makes a big impact. Let's just use one example. Inflation adjusted versus a retirement spending smile. Now, again, when inflation adjusted is saying is you start year one with some distribution rate, let's say it's 4%, and each year you just step up a little bit for inflation and hope that your portfolio can provide that growth. Retirement spending smile says, historically speaking, on average, the average person entering retirement spends more in their early years when they're healthier and younger, and that slowly declines as they age, and then it skyrockets at the end because of medical expenses. So why not strategize around that, right? Why not plan around historical lifestyle trends? And if we just simply adjust it from inflation adjusted to retirement spending smile, That's going to take your probability of success from 62% to 82%. Your probability of ending portfolio being 380,000 to 1 point almost 2 million. That's a huge difference. Okay, so again, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you want more specifics about your situation, or if you have any questions about this hypothetical example, please reach out. I'd be more than happy to work through with you because I think it's so important that every single person has a plan. And I also think maybe this is a little biased because this is what I do for a living, that most, if not all people should have a financial planner or someone they trust to bounce ideas off of. And here's why. Name a single professional in any sport, whether it's golf, hockey, football, any sport, that does not have a coach. All of them, if not most of them, can beat their coach at what they do, but they understand the sports psychology and the advantages of having one. Tiger Woods had a swing coach, a caddy. I'm sure he had other coaches. Almost all professional athletes have sports psychologists now. At the end of the day, we're human beings and humans have emotions. Emotions and money don't always mix. They're important to account for, but having someone you trust to bounce ideas off of, having someone you trust to give you advice, we don't control your money. I help people with their money, but I can't tell them what to do. But I help them have additional perspective or additional ideas to consider. So that's my obviously bias, but I'm very passionate and very confident and excited about what I do. Opinion of why it's important to reach out and have a conversation with someone you trust to have these retirement planning conversations because I genuinely believe it'll add value to your life. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. And I know there's plenty of reports out there or research out there that shows that having a financial advisor, a fiduciary financial advisor who's legally obligated to do what's in your best interest, can add up to 5% return on your assets over a long period of time. That's a big difference. So, with that being said, thank you for your time to watch or listen to today's Money Not Math episode. Please help me provide more value to more people by sharing with a friend, sharing on social media page, and commenting with a question or thought. If you'd like to ask me a question privately or schedule a meeting, please email me at drew@fivestonefinancial.com. That is DREW at the number 5, STONEFINANCIAL.com. Disclaimer: this content is not legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult a qualified professional regarding your personal situation. And in case I didn't answer the original question, can this person retire? The answer is yes. It all just comes down to what and how they want their retirement to look like, how they plan, and how much risk they're willing to take in different areas and things like that. So there's a lot that goes into retirement planning. Take the next step today and please enjoy your day. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside, and please reach out if you have questions. Thanks. Bye.